right, well, I'm here with, this is Brandon Hernandez, Region 7 Director for TTPOA, and this is actually the should be the start of our conference 2020 in Dallas, Texas, but due to just all the craziness with the coronavirus and stuff, this is not going to happen this week, so we thought we would give y'all members something different, and this is the first one we started with, and Scott Jedlinski, a modern samurai, decided he would graciously do this interview with me. We met a few years ago with training through TTPOA, and man, he's become a friend of mine. He stays in my house. He enjoys my dog Tiger, and man, he is definitely a friend of the family now, and one of those guys that, man, you definitely need to get out and train with him. So man, Scott, just welcome, and I'm glad you were able to jump on with this. So
awesome, man. Honored to be here. I wish we could be together at the TTPOA conference, man, but it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. We had basically like Team Victos coming down for this conference pretty much, man, with all y'all guys. So that'd have been a good time. Man, those of you who have not taken Scott's, he has two classes, basically a basic and then an instructor class for the red dot sight for the pistol. If y'all have not taken that, man, I highly recommend it. If you have taken it, I highly recommend you taking it again. I've had the privilege of, just in my position, I get to go out there and take the class and or be around him and help him out and kind of be a pull up targets and things like that. But I'm also able to gain the knowledge that he's throwing out there. And every time I go, I take something back. So I highly recommend the class if you've taken it and if you've not taken it. So let's start off, just get the basic question out of the way, man. Just tell me about yourself, man. I don't know you, and maybe some of those people don't know you, so just tell us what you got.
Cool. Well, the first thing I always start off with, and to be clear with, is my background, right? Not MEL, not LE. I am a lifelong martial artist. For those of you that can't see this video, I'm half Korean, half Polish, so that wigs people out, I guess. And so my last name is Jedlinski, so my nickname is Jedi, right? But the reason why I bring up the martial arts part, Taekwondo, Muay Thai for the last 18 years, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is because in my class, in finding the dot on draw, on presentation, and in recoil, those body mechanics that make things a lot easier for you, those come basically from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not from any firearms class that I ever took, right? My whole goal with that is, when I'm explaining that, is that I don't teach a tactics class. You guys get enough tactics. That's not my lane. I stay firmly in my lane. What I will do is get you to find that dot and track that dot, not only straight in front of you, but in transition and while on the move. And you'll get twice the performance with half the work, right? So that's the general class. The instructor class, the difference between the two is, in the regular fundamentals performance class, I will fix you individually, right? In the instructor class, I teach you how to fix everybody else. So that's basically the difference, man. People seem to really dig it. Super busy this year, other than, the current pandemic going on. But other than that, man, it's been a super busy year, and I'm very blessed.
Yeah, no, that's definitely throwing a kink in your livelihood, and then what we do for our audience and our students, man. It's definitely taking a back seat right now. So, now it's very interesting. You talked about your jiu-jitsu background, and when I first went through your class, you were talking about that, and one of the things that stuck out with me is fighting is fighting is fighting. I mean, you're fighting with a gun, you're fighting with your hands, whatever that is. And, I've always heard that as far as your stance, but when it came to the other fundamentals of shooting, of just where your arms are placed and your hand placement and all that kind of stuff, I've never heard it presented that way. And I thought you did just a really outstanding job of really relating that and making it make sense and it actually working. So, man, kudos to you for figuring that out and being able to relate to guys that way. I thought that was one of the things I took away the first time I went to your class.
Yeah, one of the other things is that if you come to my class, I give you a precursor that there's going to be a lot of bad jokes, right? But I use those jokes to kind of explain or illustrate the point that I'm making. For example, when we're talking about stance, I'm not a big fan of the whole isosceles stance where your feet are underneath your shoulders, basically what I call a deadlifting stance, right? The reason why I'm not a fan of it is in deadlifting, if you move your feet in the middle of a deadlift, man, that's how you mess up your back, right? So you don't want to move your feet. But in shooting, would you ever give up your mobility? Why would you pick one stance where mobility is not important, but detrimental, and use that same stance in another exercise, shooting, where mobility is absolutely critical? The answer is you wouldn't, right? And no one would ever start a fist fight in isosceles. You would look ridiculous. So that I kind of do that as a joke, and everybody laughs, when I do that. Come to my class if you want to enjoy that joke. And, fighting is fighting. With a proper fighter stance, it doesn't matter if you're throwing hands, you're doing jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, or pistol, shotgun, AR. It's all the same. The body works the way the body works. Just because you throw a gun in your hand doesn't mean any of that changes.
Right. No, that's definitely a fact there, and something that I really took back from that class and continue to really think about and work on my own personal skills and stuff. Man, one of the things too when being around you, and I don't know if this has always been the way you've been in life or just something that you've developed when now you started teaching, but and I've talked to other guys about this too. You do a really great job of being able to diagnose each individual shooter, even though you have multiple people in the class. Is that something you've always been good at, or is just something that you've worked on, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so people ask me all the time who influenced most in my instruction style when it comes to red dot pistols in general, and the answer is very surprising. It's not all the other firearms classes that I've taken. It was Tony Passos, who was my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu professor, right? He was amazing at diagnosing people of, hey man, just put your foot a little bit here, higher on the hip, you want to grab under the elbow, yada, yada, yada. And he could really fix anybody in anything and explain to them in an easy way to understand of why the technique was working or not working, right? And I guess after 7 years or so training under him, I just kind of developed that. And then in my own practice, between what I was doing, videoing my dry fire, watching other people who were better than me, and really honing in on the differences between the two, right? It all comes down to the philosophy that there's a reason for every success, and there's a reason for every failure, okay? That coupled with speed and accuracy come from efficiency. Efficiency comes from technique.
Right.
So if you don't know what the proper technique is, and all you do is work harder, you're just beating your head up against the wall, right? And even if you are successful, that means your body figured it out, but your mind didn't, right? So what happens is you stop shooting for a while, you go back to it, and because your body forgets, right? All that myelination process has dissipated, and your mind doesn't understand the technique, so you're back to square zero. But if you understand the technique, 3 dry fires after not shooting for a month, you're good to go. Yeah.
No, I think just kind of going back over that in my head over different training things that I've done over my career, that's definitely been an issue with me, and I think with a lot of guys is they have in their head, but their body doesn't understand it. So you did a few reps in the range. At the very end of the range day, you're like, okay, I got this concept now. And then, like you said, it's been a while. You come back to the range, you're like, okay, now what exactly was that again? How did I do this? And so I think there's a kind of a seesaw back and forth sometimes in our training that we get. And I think you found something with being able to relate to students and them be able to go back and train themselves and or train other people in what you're putting out there. So I think that's really unique.
And here's the deal, man. I've kind of codified it. Like if you come to my instructor class, I actually give you a sheet, right, of the 6 reasons why people can't find the dot.
Right.
6 reasons. are the same for everybody, right? You may only have 2 out of the 6. You may have 3 out of the 6. Hell, some people have 6 out of the 6, right? And the cool thing is once you eliminate those things, people get better and they do less, right? Especially, my friends in law enforcement, but really any good red-blooded American that carries a gun to protect themselves and their family, we're serious people, and we're alphas. And unfortunately, alphas think that if a little work is good, a lot of work must be great, right? So we tack on all this unnecessary movement to make life harder because we feel like we're doing work, right? But once people kind of understand my philosophy of efficiency and how I implement and teach that, then they realize that they can do a lot more with less work.
Yeah.
And then they get excited because now it's not about going into your corner and dry repping 10,000 rounds and just hoping somehow speed or accuracy materialize, right? We don't play any other sports like that, right? We don't go and get on the football field and I was a left tackle lineman in high school. When I had problems with shivering and yada yada, my coach told me how to do it, and I practiced that technique, right? He didn't tell me just to go hit the sled 10,000 times. that wouldn't have done anything. But that's what we do with firearms training a lot, right? We've got to get the techniques down, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, that means you don't have a technique. So what are you doing? Just working hard, right?
No, and that's true. We have changed our training, which is like CQB stuff. We used to get in together and all right, we're going to do this for the day, and all of a sudden you just jump into it. And we had a tier 1 guy say, "Hey man, do y'all not do like individual skills to start off y'all's practices and working on just an individual skill and everybody critiquing it in your own individual groups?" And we're like, "No." And so he gave us a few things, and we've come up with some more. And man, that's been life changing for our CQB of just getting things smoothed out and it's those little things that you don't think about because I've been doing this for 16 years now. I know how to get in through a door. I know how to step this, and I think it's a lot of what you're talking about is just those of just your body feels it and it knows it, and you can just see when someone picks something up, and I think that's a really good thing, and you do a great job of that, man.
Yeah, and watching you, from the catwalk with your team, when you guys are doing your CQB dry run, stuff like that, right? It's the same thing, right? And I invite anybody who, either teaches or is on a SWAT team or whatnot, and you do CQB, the level of detail that is in that.
Right.
And not only the level of detail, but the concepts that are in there, right? For example, I remember that one time, it's like, look, man, if there's not a door on the opposite side of the room, that's your point of domination.
Right.
If there is a door, your point of domination shifts. Understand the concept.
Yes, correct.
Right? Why? Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, continue your thought.
Why isn't that same methodology applied to other basic things, such as drawing and gripping and presenting a handgun? Right.
No, you're correct, man. I think you're on to something, and I like what you're teaching and how you teach. I've gone to a lot of shooting classes out there with some just outstanding guys that can shoot and do all that. But sometimes I leave those classes, and it's not a dog on them. It's probably more on me, but I'm like, what exactly did I learn, or how can I really apply that to my everyday shooting? Like, I want to take some things away, and I do, but there's just some things I'm like, man, I didn't relate to it, and maybe that's me. I don't know, but I can relate to you very easily. Not because we're friends or anything like that. I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt, but it's just, and then having conversations with other guys that have been to that class, all mirror the same thing that I'm saying. So
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate pretty much everyone that comes to the TCPOA classes, man. Texas is a whole bunch of meat eaters, man. And It is so much easier to teach people that want to get better. Not saying that I've gone to other departments where people don't want to get better, but there's a difference.
Yeah.
Right? There's dudes that have to check a box, right? They want to bring it back to their department, and God bless those dudes. They all work hard.
Right.
Then there's me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, thanks, man. That was one of the
So-
questions I had for you. Why do you like training with TTPOA so much? So you kind of answered that. So.
Well, yeah. Plus, all of the Shiner Bach and ribeye at your house.
That's true, man. That's true. You drank all my Shiner box, so next time you come, man, I gotta get some more. So.
There you go. No, I just, again, we talked about Texas, man. It's just the overall, for lack of a better term, enthusiasm. But it's more than enthusiasm, man. It is that. It is that desire to get after it.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Right? And, the guys listening here, most of them guys are Texas, LA. They're like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you want to get after it? Nah, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, right? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm with you, up in the Dallas Metroplex. It doesn't matter if I'm with Marco down in Houston, if I'm with outside of TTPOA, Sergeant Noriega in San Antonio. Everybody in Texas gets after it, man.
Yeah.
Everybody, and it's inspiring. You know what I mean? Seeing dudes wanting to get better, having that open mind, getting better, and then applying it to their own application, whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the compliment. Like I said, that's kind of our motto, and that's the guys that you see on the board and that are part of our association. We are all like-minded with that. As we want to go to training, we want to get good training. We want to be there. I don't want to go to an 8-hour training day and it's only 5 hours. I'm like, I don't need that. I want the whole. Give me everything, and that's what we want from our instructors. And you're one of the guys that does that. So we're grateful for you for that.
Yep.
So Matt, how did you come up with the name of your training company, and tell us exactly what that is and how did that happen?
Yeah. So it's not all that mystical or anything like that.
All right.
Growing up, being, half Asian, being a martial artist my entire life, I was always fascinated with, the way of the samurai and Budo, right, which is the martial arts kind of code or whatnot, right? And reading a whole bunch of books, whether it be, Musashi and the Book of Five Rings and other things, the three skills of the samurai that I really dug were empty hand combatives, weapon combatives, and transport, right? And for me, transport means, horsemanship, right? I don't know exactly if that's the right word. Equestrianship, I don't know, right? But being, the whole car, I was really into cars at the time and stuff like that. So one day I was, a funny story I'll tell people, right? So I was kind of a weird kid in high school. I played football and I was a sponsored skateboarder.
Oh, wow.
Right?
You did skateboard as big as you are, man? Wow.
Well, that's how I got sponsored, bro.
Really?
I've been this big since I was 16, right? And to see me on a skateboard doing stuff was kind of a novelty, right? People anyway.
It's like a big panda bear.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? So my buddy Greg Higgins, who I went to high school with, right? He was a freestyle BMXer, good dude, right? Incredible artist, right? For those of you guys that skated when you were younger, if you ever heard of a legend called Mike Mullally, Greg has done his board graphics since 1991. Actually, no, before then, it's 1989. He's done his, right? So, if any of you know me and you've seen my tattoos, Greg designed all my tattoos. Anyway, we're talking about it, right? And he goes, "Hey, man, what's going on?" It's like, you're into cars, you're into shooting, you're doing all this jiu-jitsu. He's like, "Dude, you're like this modern samurai project, man." Trying to get myself into that. And I was like, "Oh, shit. What was that?" I'm allowed to swear on here, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Man, that's fine. You're good. You're good, man. You're doing an interview with me, so it's fine.
Exactly.
You can drink on here if you want to, too.
Dude, I'm surprised only one swear word came out so far. So he goes, yeah, man. I was like, oh, dude, that's an awesome name, man. So I was thinking about starting a blog just as being an enthusiast, right? Going to classes, writing AARs and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, dude, can you make me a logo? Right? He's like, oh, yeah, dude. 2 days later. So my patches and my logo right now is what he came up with.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And it kind of stuck from there. Everybody who has my patches or has seen my logo, people either ask or they just don't get it, right? But on the bottom is H2H arms, right? So H2H is hand to hand, right? And arms are like, firearms, blah, 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 blah,
right.
blah, right? So that's what those two things on the patch stand for. So that's where it came from, man. Just having a good time, taking classes, getting my skill set better, competing, things of that nature, right? And then in 2017, my buddy Matt Landfair over at Primary and Secondary made it so I could not say no to teaching a class because he was trying to push me for years to do it. Finally came together, sold out a 20-person class in 30 minutes.
Good.
So, yeah. So since then, man, it's just been incredible. Like I said before, this recent break, man, I'm teaching 70 classes this year. So it's just incredible. I can't be more thankful. Can't be more thankful.
Well, that's good. I know I had to reach out to Bev like 3 or 4 months ago to get 2021 on the calendar and get that set up because, man, you were booking fast. So that's a good thing, man. That's a good thing.
So all you TTPOA guys, man, whether it's you, Marco, Quick down there, right?
Yep.
You guys want to get me on 2021? You got to do it now.
Yep.
So.
You sure do, man. You sure do. So let me get into something, man. You kind of mentioned it earlier, and it's kind of it's one of my kind of pet peeves too in the industry sometimes. And one of the things, and you hear it a lot. What do you say to the people that give you a hard time? You don't have a military background or LA background. What do you say to that? Because that drives me crazy too with guys that. Well, that doesn't mean you can't teach. So what do you say to that?
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? What do I say to that? Generally, I ignore it.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. People see value in my stuff and they're coming to my class. If you don't come to my class, right, because I don't have a law enforcement background, okay, but I'm not teaching tactics.
Right.
One of the things, so I have a very good buddy, Jim, right? He's up in the Illinois area. And at one point in time, this department had a had a retirement and a firing, right? So they were super short-staffed. So he was working 6 shifts straight. He also has SWAT training. He also has a daughter, right? If he wasn't a gun nut, when would he practice? Right? Because most guys, right? Not all cops are gun guys. We get that.
All right,
God
for
bless
sure.
what you want to do, right? But if he wasn't a gun nut, when would he practice? He's working 6 12-hour shifts, right? On top of SWAT training, right? On top of his daughter, on top of the rest of life. So if I can help you guys look, guys, all I do is shoot.
Yeah.
Right? Let me help you get to the shortcuts, right? And if you dig it, you dig it. If you don't, you don't, right? I don't teach tactics, right? We're not talking about CQB. We're not talking about closing with and destroying. I'm just giving you the techniques to be able to find that dot on the draw and track it during recoil, and then finally under movement and understanding the different variations and the different techniques to do that. And then you decide you apply it to your own application. Right. Now, if I was doing a class on post-incident report writing, then you got something to tell me to shut up. Right?
No, for sure. I think you do a great job of staying in your lane. But with that being said, you also can have a very education. You have an education because you have asked a lot of people in the industry, and you have a lot of just respectable guys in the industry that know CQB and know tactics, and you have picked their brain where you understand it. You came out with us, and you like you said earlier, you're on the catwalk with me while we're doing CQB, and you knew exactly what I was talking about. And I even asked you, hey, who do you think messed up on that run? Who do you think this? And you were able to tell me just like you'd been running CQB your whole life. So I think that's where people that really don't know you and want to judge you that way, they're really missing the boat on that, and it's really wrong because, man, you talk to these top-tier guys in the military, guess who they have come out and train them? They have these top-tier shooters in the world that aren't tactic guys, but they know how to shoot, and these are teaching the best of the best how to shoot, so maybe we can take something from that and not be so,
Absolutely. Well, the other thing I look at, right, is, for example, take your guys' defensive tactics, right?
Yeah.
The basis of those defensive tactics, those ever originate within law enforcement? Or do they originate outside of law enforcement?
You're exactly right. They did.
So what's the difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah. Because you're not teaching, hey, when you shoot, this is when you're justified to shoot, because, hey, that's each individual's decision and stuff. Right. So I think, but that's always bothered me with, well, we can't do this tactic because this is a military tactic. Well, not necessarily. You can't be taught by somebody who's never shot somebody. Well, not necessarily. There is value and validity with the after part of that, or the emotional side of that, or what you're thinking or how you're processing things. But when it comes to getting the gun out of the holster, trigger, all that type of stuff, sight alignment, finding the dot, all those different things that you go over, that has nothing to do with what someone's background is, and I think that's bugged me for a while, just in the whole industry, not with just with you, but just with other things and stuff, and just guys staying in their lane and understanding what they're good at and not getting out of that, because that also drives me crazy. So. I'm not here to bash anybody, but it's just, I think we've had a lot of conversations, and you do a great job of educating yourself on things that you've not experienced. That way, you at least know what guys are talking about, and I think that's a good quality to you, that you want to be a well-rounded instructor and student when you're going to things and you're around people, because you're around a lot of people that are top tier in their expertise field, So.
Yeah, why those high-speed, low-drag face shooter dudes dig me, I still don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm thinking what it was. I went to one place, and it was like, dude, I love the class because you get these other guys that do what we did in another area or whatever, and there's always that swinging dick comparison thing.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm out here and it's like, hey, what's up, guys? Let's go shoot. You tell me what you dig. You know what I mean? I'll give you options. You decide from there. But I don't do what you do, right? But then you have to ask yourself, and one of the things that I say, and you've seen these on my demos, right? When I'll do a demo like a build drill or my 3 and 2, and I'm like, here's the thing, guys. You got to ask yourself, right? I don't do what you do. I don't run toward the sound of gunfire unless I know my wife's over there, right? So I don't do what you do. But here's the thing, man. What you have to process is, how does an almost 50-year-old guy, former mortgage banker, can do all this? And you can't right now. How does that make sense? Right? Well, it makes sense because you don't understand the technique. Let me show you the technique, right? And then you can put everything together. You can put the technique so that once you have the technique and you are convinced that works, you free up bandwidth. Right? And once you have that bandwidth freed up, then you can apply that to solve the problem, whatever problem that is.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I think that's really good. All right, here's another question that I hear guys say, maybe not a question, but I hear people say this, and I'll ask you this question. So I've been shooting the red dot for a while. You hear guys say this. Okay, now I'm nervous to go back to red dots. I got to qualify my with my irons. I hadn't shot irons in a while. I've been shooting red dot. Man, I don't know if I can shoot good. What do you say to that? You think that's hooey?
So I compare shooting the dots to irons like shooting a pistol to a rifle, right?
Okay, that's good.
If you shoot a lot of pistol, if you shoot the dot, because the dot is unforgiving. When you have everything down, right, on your draw and on your grip and all that other stuff, it's beautiful, right? So when you go back to your irons, it's actually easier, right? Because your presentation is squared away and all those other things, but it's not the same the other way around. If you shoot a lot of irons, you're not going to get great on the red dot because the red dot's unforgiving, right?
Yes,
just
it
like
is.
a pistol can be unforgiving, right? But once you get those techniques down, you're good to go. The main reason why the dot makes you better at pistols is, right, the one advantage that iron sights have over the dot is the front sight or whatnot is always in your peripheral. But because of that, you can be lazy, and most people's presentations with iron sights kind of looks like this weird upward snaking motion that they correct on the way out because they can see in the peripheral. We can't get away with that with the red dot because it's in the enclosure. So your draw has to be very, very efficient to your dominant eye. And if you do it correctly, the dot will be there all the time, dropping from 12 o'clock. When you go back to irons, right, after shooting the dot for a while, because you have that efficiency on the draw, the front sight will be, oh, it's right there, it's right there,
Yep.
it's right there. And because you are shooting with one focal plane with the dot, and your mind and your vision can go, oh my gosh, look at all this information I'm getting with this thing. When you go back to your irons, your mind and your vision will demand the same amount of information, right? Whether people know this or not, the best iron sight shooters in the world shoot target focus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is a way to get better at your irons by shooting the dot.
No, for sure. Because I was a little nervous when I first started shooting mine, and I was getting a lot of rounds in, and then I went to irons, and that was my first thought. I was, oh man, how am I going to do this? And man, I started shooting. I was like, damn, man, this is amazing. So, but I do hear guys talk about that a lot. So I just kind of wanted to clear that, rumor up about, well, can I shoot irons again really well? No, you can't. And that's funny you talk about. So when I first got my red dot on my pistol, man, I didn't know anything. I just got one, started shooting, and that was the biggest thing that I found is that it told me a lot of what I was doing wrong. I didn't really know why I did it wrong, but I knew I did something wrong at the draw, or find that red dot, doing this, doing that. I didn't have all the knowledge of why this was happening, but I knew really quick that, man, this is a great training tool because it points out all your issues really quick. And it was amazing, and I kind of figured that on my own and kind of worked through some stuff on my own, but it's a great lesson, and boy, I have some issues with my irons that I didn't really know because of what you just said. That's really good. So let me ask you this: what are some of your pet peeves in the shooting world, or about the red dot sight? What are some of the things that just kind of drive you crazy, man, that you hear?
We're gonna open up a can of whoop-ass.
Oh no, man! I don't want to get you in trouble, man. That ain't the point of that question, man. So.
So here's the thing, right, guys? It's the most annoying thing in the firearms industry. Instructors, stop doing classes that are just supervised drills. Stop. Right? How many times, like you just said, well, and that's the story I always say, like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a class and it was fun. I mean, shooting's fun, right? And then afterwards, I was like, what did I actually learn?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I learned I need to work harder, but I don't have a plan to work harder.
Yeah.
Right? So, get into the technique. And if you are simply reading off of a POI, right, that you took before, and you don't understand the techniques and behind it, refine that.
Yeah.
Refine that a little bit, right? Have different ways to teach the same thing, right? Like, not everybody is built the same, right? And there are no absolutes,
right? For sure.
Some people say always put your finger on the fingerprint pad. Other people say put your finger all the way in past the first distal joint. Well, people aren't built the same, man. Right? If you got somebody who is a huge guy with huge hands and he puts it on the fingerprint pad, this knuckle is going to hit the guy next to him.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you got a 95-pound female recruit, right, and you start teaching her how to shoot guns, you tell her to put her trigger finger all the way in, that muzzle is she's going to muzzle the person to the left.
Yeah.
So people are different, right? The general body works the way the body works, but when you're getting into those minute details, be open-minded enough to the technique that not one size fits all.
Yeah. No, I've definitely have learned that over the years of just being more mature and more just being around other instructors that have that attitude of, because there's some classes you go to, well, okay, this is the way I do it, so you do it this way, which is, it's great because they can do it, but like you said, man, if some guy's hand's really big, I don't have really big hands, or, I'm not as tall as somebody, so me stepping, doing CQB, I might have to take an extra step, or someone, if I'm training a tall guy, they might have to not take that extra step. So there's different ways to do it, but you're still teaching them the same way, but you're giving a few different options, and you do a great job of that. I know, like with shooting, with one hand, you give, hey, you can do it this way, this way, this way. Find out what works best for you, and probably what's going to happen, you're going to end up changing that once you think it works best for you, because then something's going to happen, the light's going to come on, and then you're going to realize, oh wow, doing it with my finger up is actually better than doing my finger pointing at the target. So that's a great quality in an instructor.
Yep.
So.
Thanks, man. And then probably the biggest one, man, is y'all, you got to demo your stuff.
Yeah.
You got to demo everything, right? Stop using the example, well, it's not about my shooting, it's about the student shooting, right? People are both visual and audible learners. Audible learners? I don't know that that's a term, but you know what I mean, right? Seeing and hearing, right, in order to put the complete lesson together in their own heads. If you are ignoring 30 or 50% of the informational output, they're not going to learn as fast, right? Here's the thing, right? And again, you guys do what you want to do, man. Go make your money, go make your living. God bless you. If you're trying to help people, God bless you, right? But if you can't demo what you're preaching, maybe you don't know what you're preaching.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. That's a great point, man. All right, so let's get to what optics do you recommend for these pistols, man? You don't have to go into great detail like you do in your class, but just give us a few that what you have seen that have been good.
Yeah, so the King's the RMR, right? It's been out the longest. It's been tested the most. It's the most durable for duty because of its design. The Type 2 is pretty much just put blue Loctite on the screws. If that's what your manufacturer, your miller recommends, put Duracell batteries in it, not Energizer batteries. Energizer batteries are very weak and they're very soft, and they can pop and you can lose contact with it, right? Use Duracell batteries, they're the best, right? So that's the Trijicon RMR. Number two, as even though we're going through these crazy times because of the Chinese, right? Hollow Sun is my second choice, right? It's the most affordable out there. It's rugged, long battery life, and they listen to what the audience wants, right? And they keep on coming out with the new models, right?
Yeah, they do.
Number three, because it's been out the second longest, the Delta Point Pro. The only thing about the Delta Point Pro is that it's so tall. You get the backup iron sights need to be really, really tall as well. I don't like the finger adjustments where you have to go up, 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 down, 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 down. But there are plenty of people who use them on duty and use them well. Right now I'm testing out the Trijicon SRO. Trijicon sent me one, man. I'm digging it, right? The window's really nice and big, and I'm not getting any light refractions, which happens with some optics where the light refracts and there's so much glass that you get a ghost dot. I haven't seen that with the Trijicon RMR. I've seen it with the Trijicon SRO. There are some valid concerns about the way that shape is, that if you drop it from a 5-foot distance, that glass is going to shatter.
Right.
It is. We've seen that. On the other hand, practical application, I'm not doing anything in testing that gun that I wouldn't normally do in my testing, right? Thousands upon thousands of draws, right? Testing out different ammos of different power factors, racking it off of tables, racking it off of walls, yada yada. And so far, it's kept up, man. I think I've taught 7 classes with it, so there's probably a good, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 rounds through it, and I haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. So if you find that feature set to be what's good for you, right, that big window, and you don't drop your gun, hey man, why not?
There you go.
Give it a try. Right?
Now another question guys ask, hey, MOS or mill cut? What do you say?
So if you always, so here's the deal, right? A one size fits all is not always going to be the best option.
Right.
Doesn't mean can't be a good option, right? So I have mill guns, I have MOS guns. I haven't had any big problems with the MOS guns, but that's because I use the C&H precision plate, right? Again, good dudes. They don't pay me. I give them feedback on some things, right? The new plates are coming out that I think law enforcement will like a lot better than the previous models because the materials being made. But here's the deal, man. If you work for a department and you're getting an MOS gun, that's the best solution. Hard stop.
There you go.
Stop.
There you go.
What's the best car you can have? The one that you got.
Yep, that's true.
Right. I will say don't use the Glock plates, right? Use the Trigicon plates, or step up if you're allowed to and get those C&H precision plates. Much more thread bites, much more durable construction on them, and the dudes at C&H are shooters, right? So they understand the necessities of being a shooter, where some companies don't.
Good deal. Now, let me ask you this. What are some suggestions or things that guys can do right now at home, since some ranges are closed, they can't get out to what they used to, or they're working crazy hours to get do some stuff at home with their red dot to get better? What would you suggest?
Sure, dry fire. Dry fire is for skill building. Live fire is for confirmation of that skill, right? And so what I tell people in my class, what I'd like them to do, right, is if you can't find the dot on recoil, here's some things you can do, right? Number one, go to my YouTube channel, modernsamuraiproject.com. I give, out there a lot of free milk about how to find the dot on the draw, why you can't find the dot on the draw, yada, yada, right? Because that seems to be the biggest problem, that biggest hurdle that people want to go get over, right? Look at those videos and then video yourself, right? I tell people to do 3 things, right, when they're trying to find the dot on the draw. Put the shot timer, and if you don't have a shot timer, you're wrong. You're wrong. Right? Just go download one on your phone if you're dry firing. Put for whatever time, right? If you got a 1.5 second draw, put it on 1.2 or 1.3 draw, right? And then say, if you got the dot, say got the dot, you got the time, got the time. So got the dot, got the time. And then do yourself 10 times, right? The next thing could be got the time, got the dot, didn't get the time. And the third one, didn't get anything, right? And then compare those 3 things. And what you will find is when you were successful in finding the dot and finding the time, right, you went immediately on the stimulus without waiting, right? Your head didn't move, your shoulders didn't move, it was all arms and hands, okay? And there was no extra motion involved. If you found, on the second one, if you found the dot and didn't get the time, there was no useless motion, but you went too late on the stimulus. Too many people go well after the beep is done. Mm-hmm. Go on the B of beep, not the P of beep, right? And then the final one where you didn't get anything, it's because you waited too long after the beep went off, and then you threw everything. Your shoulder went in the air, you leaned forward, you squatted, you did everything, right? No wonder you didn't get the time, you didn't find the dot, because you're throwing all the useless frenetic motion in there, right? And then when you actually see what you did, it's now your idea, right? And after you get done punching yourself in the face for being so goofy, all right, you go right back to the dry fire, video yourself again, and watch those problems disappear, because now it's your idea, right? And then once you get 1.3, drop it to 1.2, then drop it to 1.1, right? When I dry fire from concealed appendix, I dry fire at 0.6. I get it half the time, right? Well, why not 0.7 and get it all the time? Well, because 0.6 is what's pushing me, so that when I have that skill level, right, and that sense of urgency and my technique down, that I can accomplish that, then when I go do demos in front of 20 meat eaters, you know, like you, a 0.7, 0.8 draw live fire, no big deal.
Right.
Big deal.
Well, good, man. Good. All right. Well, it looks like my camera battery is getting low, so we're gonna have to start wrapping this up. I love doing this. This is great. This is the very first time we've done this, and obviously, I am not the technical guy in this organization or even in my house. So this is just kind of some makeshift redneck. You know, I'm a Mexican redneck, I always tell people, man, so that I get the best of both worlds. And actually, you know, you've been to my backyard. It's the backyard honky-tonk, and that's where we're doing this deal. I wish we could sit down and have some beers together and video this as we're actually talking. I think that would have been really good. But man, I appreciate you, Scott, taking time out of your, you know, your day, even though you're not technically training. But I know you're trying to set stuff up and trying to get the ball rolling and everything like that. So we appreciate what you do for TTPOA and the partnership we have with you, and you know, that's a great thing that we have going. So I look forward to coming back to my house and grilling steaks and drinking some good cold beer on the back porch, man. And
absolutely, man.
So.
Absolutely. Again, I want to thank, you know, you, Graham, Marco, all the guys out at TTPOA, Dan. You know, you guys have been amazing hosts, amazing friends, and I sincerely appreciate that, man. And which is, you know, another one of the main reasons why me and the wife will be moving to Texas by next year.
That's right. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that, man. So
yep.
That's good to see. So, all right, man. Well, you take care and safe travels, buddy.
Sir.
All right. Bye.